Hello, today I am making an entire Thanksgiving dinner. Gluten-free, dairy-free cookbook is where all of these recipes are found. 25% off in the description below. You can find the link. This is a compilation from my other YouTube channel of putting all of my gluten-free, dairy-free recipes together. I hope you enjoy it. Happy Thanksgiving. Today I'm making homemade roast turkey. This is absolutely the best roast turkey you will ever eat. It's only 2 ingredients. It's super simple and takes less than 3 minutes to make. Let's get started. All right, to defrost your turkey, you need to defrost it 24 hours for every 4 pounds. If you do not have room in your refrigerator and you live in a cool climate, stick it in your cooler in your garage or outside. Of course, if you have bears, don't do that. You don't have to necessarily just keep it in your refrigerator. If you live in a cool climate, you can defrost it in the garage and it'll be just fine. Make sure the temperature outside is 40 degrees or below. Then the next step that we do is we use foil pans or line your roasting pan with a foil. I got this one at the thrift store. I got 10 for $1, so that's a great deal. You want to make sure your pan is big enough to catch all the juices because this is a very juicy turkey. All right, so I have taken my turkey out of the package and drained it in the sink. Be sure to bleach your sink and everything around it when you're done. Removed the giblets and the neck from the cavity of the turkey. Take 1 stick of butter. Right here, this is all you need, 1 stick of butter. Stick it in there. Now, you'll be able to tell the breast because it makes a heart and the wings are up. And you want to turn that down. Make sure your turkey is breast side down. The juices from the turkey are going to seep into that breast and make it the most succulent and juicy breast of turkey you have ever eaten. Then, just cover it with aluminum foil. And make sure you seal it tightly. Make sure all your edges are crimped really well. You're going to put this in the oven at 250 degrees for an hour. Yes, that is correct, 250 degrees. Don't send me an email. I'm going to explain in just a moment. Then you are going to turn it down to 200 degrees and cook it for 10 to 14 hours. If you are planning on eating Thanksgiving dinner around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, cook it the night before and then turn your oven down to warm and keep your turkey warm until dinner. Just cook it overnight. You'll wake up to delicious turkey. If you're planning on eating later that evening, put it in as soon as you wake up in the morning, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Get it in that oven and let it cook all day long until 5 or 6 at night. If you are going to be eating at 5 or 6 at night and it's like 8 or 9 o'clock and you forgot, throw it in the oven at 350 degrees for 1 hour, get that puppy cooking, and then turn it down to 200 degrees. Now, you're going to let this cook for 10 to 14 hours. You are slow cooking your turkey. Yes, this is perfectly safe. Yes, your turkey breast will be around 170 degrees. Do not waste time brining your turkey. Do not waste time with seasonings or any of that stuff. This is the turkey at its finest, and it will be the most delicious turkey you've ever seen. We're going to be right back and show you what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. Please subscribe and hit the bell notification so you can be notified when we put up new videos. For our gluten-free, dairy-free dinner rolls, we are going to use all-purpose gluten-free flour and add our sugar and our yeast, salt, and eggs, water, and apple cider vinegar, and our dairy-free butter. Then we're going to mix this all very well for 3 minutes. Make sure you mix it for the entire 3 minutes. We're going to take our 8x8 pan and grease it with cooking spray that is gluten-free. Put dollops of dough so that you have 9 biscuits in your 8x8 pan. And then you're going to take and you're going to put water on your fingertips and smooth out the tops. The smoother you get them, the smoother your rolls will be. Then we're going to let them rise for 30 minutes and bake at 350 degrees. Then if you want to test and make sure they are done in the centers, your digital thermometer will read over 200 degrees and you will know the insides are completely cooked. Then take a stick of dairy-free butter and rub it over the top, and you have your gluten-free, dairy-free dinner rolls. My entire family absolutely loves these. Okay, now you added butter. What do you think?
Well, definitely when it's buttery and when it's hot, it is like
dinner roll perfection.
I wouldn't even really notice that it's gluten-free.
You wouldn't notice that it's gluten-free, huh? Wow.
I mean, the texture is slightly different, but
not noticeable?
Not very noticeable.
Only because you're a taste tester for a professional cookbook author? I used canned sweet potatoes for my sweet potato casserole. But if you want to use regular sweet potatoes, fresh sweet potatoes, all you have to do is throw them in the oven and roast them at 350 degrees for approximately 45 minutes. Peel them, chop them up, and put them in your dish, okay? Now, just to save on dishes, I put my sweet potatoes in, and then in a measuring cup, I add my sugar and my eggs. This recipe is in the description below. My vanilla and my dairy-free butter. Then I just stir it all around. Then I just pour it all over my sweet potatoes. Now, you can do this a couple of different ways. You can, if you want the marshmallow top, just bake this at 350 degrees for 20 minutes. Okay, if you want a crumb topping, which is what my recipe calls for, then just add your butter, make sure that it's melted. You want your butter, and then your gluten-free flour, brown sugar, stir all that, and then we'll add our pecans. And this is a candied pecan topping instead. Now, if you use your marshmallows, if you want the marshmallows, after you've baked your sweet potato casserole, then put the marshmallows on top and put it back in the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes until your marshmallows are melted. Then you're going to put your topping on top of your sweet potatoes. Then we're going to bake at 350 degrees for 20 minutes. All right, for your gluten-free stuffing, just take regular gluten-free bread and let it dry out, and then you're going to break it up into pieces. My onions and my sausage are browned. Now, let me show you how I make my chicken broth. Now, you can use the boxed chicken broth if you want, but what I do is I just use chicken bouillon cubes. It's so much cheaper and it's easier to have on hand because these last forever. If you have turkey broth from your turkey, you can just take some of that out and just use that if you would like also. So I'm going to add my bouillon cubes to get those going. I am going to add my dairy-free butter. Right in there. Let all that get melted. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your bread and just crumble it into a whole bunch of little pieces. Now, if you don't have croutons, don't worry about it. You don't need to necessarily have the croutons. They just add a little bit of extra flavor. And what I do is just add a little bit of seasoning salt if I don't have croutons. Break them up into bite-sized pieces. Then to your bread, you're going to add your sausage and onions, your bouillon and your butter mixture, your salt, your pepper, and I sort of mix that first just because it's hot and I don't want my eggs to cook, so it kind of cools it down just a little bit. Then add your eggs. And I forgot my sage, so. All right, and then just get this all stirred together. Then we're going to put it in, oops, let me mix it just a bit more. Put in our dish to bake. 350 degrees. Do not put this in your turkey. It is not safe to put stuffing in your turkey. Just bake it outside the turkey. Now you have your wonderful Thanksgiving stuffing and you won't poison yourself with food poisoning. Today I am making gluten-free, dairy-free apple pie. Yes, it tastes just like grandma's. Make gluten-free, dairy-free pie crust. It is super easy. Now, my two favorite ready-made gluten-free flours is the King Arthur and the Great Value all-purpose. This Walmart, this is not a sponsored post. This is the cheapest already made gluten-free flour that I have ever found. As a matter of fact, it is as cheap as buying the separate flours and making it yourself. So I just buy this and use this. I happen to have this one because I was recipe testing for the gluten-free, dairy-free book, so I'm going to use this one, but this is the one, the all-purpose that I always use, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to take your flour. Now, first of all, when you measure gluten-free flour, do not go in and scoop it like this. What you want to do is take a spoon and spoon it in so that it doesn't get packed too tightly. Then what I do is I just scrape off the top like so and put it in there, okay? That way it doesn't become heavy. Next, if your flour does not have xanthan gum, add the xanthan gum. That just helps your gluten-free pastries become lighter. Next, you're going to add your salt and your sugar. Then you're going to stir your sugar, salt, and flour all around, just like so. This recipe is in the description below. Then you're going to add your shortening. Now, to measure shortening, here's an easy way to measure shortening. I have my shortening I have my water at 1.5 cups. Remember, oil and water don't mix. So I have 1.5 cups of water, and I'm going to put my shortening in until my water comes up to 2 cups. So that's my 1/2 cup of shortening right there. Then you're going to add your shortening. Now, I prefer butter flavored shortening, but if I don't have buttered flavor shortening, because sometimes it's hard to find in the grocery store, I just have, oops, I got shortening on my finger. I just use butter flavor, and that way I get the flavor, okay? Then what I do is I just take my hands and I just make little pea size, just mix the shortening in until your flour is like little pea sized. Let me show you. See how they're mostly crumbly. Some are up to pea size, some are maybe slightly bigger, but you see how crumbly that is, okay? Then you're gonna add your egg and your cold water. This is just my shortening water. And you're gonna add your vinegar, okay? Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna stir it around. Now, I start with just a little bit of water first, okay? Just to kind of get everything to come together. Then I add the rest of my water, okay? Stir it all around. And I just ruined the recipe. I just messed up. Don't pour the whole 2/3 cup of water in. You're only supposed to do about 3 tablespoons to start with, and I messed up. But here's the thing, I'm going to show you how to fix it. Just add a little bit more flour, and it's no big deal, okay? So then we're just going to take and lightly mix this in. So just show you how to fix your mess up. Don't get all the flour in yet. Just lightly add it around the edges as it keeps going. That was my fault. I knew better. I'm going to add just a little bit more. Now, you want this to be the consistency of Play-Doh, okay? So it's slightly on the dry side, but still fairly moist. And I know that sounds contradictory, but can you see how that kind of looks like Play-Doh right there? You see that? Okay, so that's what you're going for. Now, you're going to divide it in half and wash your hands. Now, it's easier to manipulate when your hands are clean. Now, what I do, you can just roll this out on the counter if you want, and that's perfectly fine. But I find it easier if I take some parchment paper or waxed paper. This is freezer paper just because that's what I had on hand. And liberally sprinkle your dough paper with gluten-free flour. And then you're going to start by kind of pressing it out with your hands, okay? And then when it gets too big, then you're going to form the shape, and then we're going to roll that out, okay? Here we go. Now, it's hard to see on the camera, but right here, so I'm going to take my pie plate and measure, and I want it about 2 inches bigger, okay? So I'm just going to keep going. Okay, now let's see. Oops, oh dear. Oh no, I totally screwed this up. I totally screwed this up. I forgot to flour the top side. Okay. So, if you totally forget to flour the top side, don't freak out. Okay. This dough is actually very forgiving. Okay. So what I'm going to do, because I forgot to flour the top side. All right, now I'm going to add my flour here. Now, I know you professional pie makers, I am not a professional pie maker, but just go in and fill in your holes, okay? Now, this side here, I'm going to roll this just a little bit more that way. Okay, there we go. Now, you're going to take your pie, and I dust off, and then what we're going to do is we're going to lay this in the pie pan and just gently peel it off. Now, if it sticks, don't freak out. Okay, there we go. Now, that didn't work. You know, there's days, and today's one of those days. Okay. So we are going to, oh my goodness, some days you just gotta laugh. Okay, we are going to gently fill in the pie. And I am just going to keep going, because if this was real life, that is what you would have to do. So here we go. Now, what happened was I let my pie dough get just a tad too moist, and that's why it totally flopped. But you know what? I'm kind of glad it happened, because this will show you how to make it. If you're using this for apple pie or pumpkin pie or pecan pie, then I would bake this just 5 minutes. If you're using it for cream pies, like a chocolate cream pie or coconut cream pie, then bake it for 12 to 15 minutes, okay? All right, there we go. See, we got it all saved. There we go. It's gonna taste delicious. All right, so now we're gonna put it in the oven. Here's the trick for good tasting apple pie. And I know there are gonna be people on here who are like, oh, how can you say that? That's just awful. Never, ever, ever use Granny Smith apples. Or if you use them, just use one in there if you want. But I never, ever, ever use Granny Smith apples. Oh, hello. I only use Gala, or my new apple that I just found, which is called Envy, okay? Now, do you like apple pie? What I do is I put the bag for the apple pie, for the apples, underneath my peeler, and then it catches the peels, and I just gather it up and either compost it or throw it in the trash, just with one easy little gathering of the peels. Then what you do is you just take your nice little wrap here and you just throw it away, and you're good, okay? So now you're gonna take your apples, okay? You're gonna add your white sugar, you're gonna add your brown sugar, you're gonna add your nutmeg and your cinnamon, okay? And let's see, your salt. Do not forget the salt. All right, and then you're gonna mix all of that together. And you're gonna, oops, no, I didn't get it, there it is. I had 2 in there. Then you're going to microwave this for just about 2 to 3 minutes. Okay. Now you don't want to cook it so that your apples are completely cooked. You just kind of want to start the cooking process. Now, my grandma used to use Musselman's, whatever it was called, apple pie slices in the can. Not the pie filling, but the pie slices in the can is what my grandma would use. But you can't find that hardly anymore. And so I just make my own pie filling. And we have, in Dining on a Dime, we have a pie filling that you can freeze ahead of time. So like if you have an apple harvest, you can make a whole bunch of pie filling and freeze it in baggies and stack it in your freezer, okay? All right, next you're gonna add either cornstarch or flour. I just happen to have the cornstarch here, so I'm gonna do that. If you're a tapioca person, you go right ahead and add the tapioca, it doesn't matter. Now, all this does is thicken the juices so that it's not so runny, and it thickens the juices. Now, for my after pie, I forgot to add the cornstarch. And yeah, it was juicy, but it didn't hurt anything at all, okay? All right, so now we've got the pie in here. You kind of want to make the center just a bit higher because the apples will come and smush down, and I just always make the center a bit higher. All right, so then I just don't have enough room in this kitchen, sorry guys. Then you're gonna take your top pie crust and roll it out. Now, and what I do is I just go for the rustic look, okay? Because, yes, it's just way too soft. Holy cow, I don't know that I've ever had it this soft. It is like 80 degrees in here. I don't know what happened to Colorado. Don't tell me it's global warming, because that's a sham. But it is been super nice in the high 70s here in Colorado, mid to high 70s. And
we're getting snow on.
But I know it's not global warming because we had snow on September 8th. So if that was the case. All right, now, then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get everything off the edges, just like so. You can just decorate it however you want. Now, let me just try it this way. There we go, there we go. Like I said, I don't waste time decorating. I don't waste time doing lattice stuff, but I will kind of just do up the edges just a bit here. And just like so. All right. Now, you want, oh, I forgot the butter again.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Okay, well, here we go. We're just gonna adapt and overcome. I never remember to put the butter in. So, since we did that, I'm just gonna go in and
smells awesome.
put a blop in there, and then put a blop in there. Now it's even more rustic, and that's totally fine. But now, if you remember to put your butter in, you can put your initial on there. I'm just gonna leave it rustic so there's a whole bunch of little steam holes. And then I am going to sprinkle my sugar on top, and I'm gonna put this in the oven for 450 degrees for 15 minutes. And then I am going to turn it down to 350 for 35 to 40 minutes, okay? I forgot, always put it on a cookie sheet with a lip so that you don't have burning pie juice if you happen to have it boil over, which is always a problem, okay? Now, here is the final look of the pie.
Yum.
That is the final pie. Dave, can you hand me a plate and we'll get Dad a piece
It's probably
to try?
one of Mike's top 5 recipes in all of our books.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I love
Now,
it.
this is the gluten-free, dairy-free version. So I'll have Mike give it a taste, and he's not going to tell you it tastes good if it doesn't. Okay, well maybe he would, but I don't know. He likes my apple pie, so I'm thinking it's pretty good. All right, so here we go. Got...
Oh.
Oops, I didn't cut the crust very good. Okay. That's what the gluten-free, dairy-free apple pie looks like.
This is so delicious. Oh man, it is so nice to be able to eat pie again. Yum.
All right, to make this gluten-free, dairy-free pie, super, super simple. First, you're gonna take a half a cup of dairy-free butter. Put your butter in first, and then when you put your corn syrup to measure, it will have a little bit of grease in there and it will slide out like butter. Then your sugar and your eggs. And your salt, vanilla, lemon juice, and pecans. The recipe is in the description below. Then you're going to pour into your pre-baked pie crust. And if you want prettiness, you can set your extra pecans on top, all over. And then we are going to put it in the oven and bake it at 425, and then turn the heat down to 325 after 10 minutes, and then bake it for 40 more minutes. And there you have your finished pecan pie. You can make homemade gravy that is super simple, guys, and so much tastier than the packets. Please stop buying the packets. This is so easy and so delicious. You'll say, why did I buy packets my whole life? Stop. You don't have to buy packets. All right, to make your homemade gravy, homemade turkey gravy, take your neck and your giblets, how do you say it? Giblets, and put them in the water. Then add a generous amount of salt. And you're just going to put this on low and just let it simmer for several hours until you get a nice broth. You're going to take the juice from your turkey and you're going to add it to that wonderful broth that you made with the turkey neck and the giblets. Then I add about 4 of these bouillon cubes in here just to give it a little extra flavor. We're going to bring it to a boil. You've got your broth from your neck and your giblets. Then I added some broth from my turkey. Now I have some water and I'm putting in some cornstarch. And I'm going to stir it around. Get it nice and dissolved. I'm going to add just a bit more. I do about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Now the trick is to use cold water and let your cornstarch get dissolved first before you put it in your boiling broth, okay? As it comes to a boil, you're going to add your cornstarch water. Make sure it's all mixed. And you're going to bring it to a boil again. All right, as it comes to boil, it's going to start to thicken. Turn your heat down so it doesn't boil over. Then, if it doesn't thicken enough, just add a little bit more cornstarch water. And salt to add enough seasoning to make sure it's salted well enough. Okay, now if you want giblet gravy, just cut up your liver and gizzards and add an egg, a hard-boiled egg, your liver and gizzards to your gravy. Green salad. I know, brilliant name, huh? But this is a great salad that actually gives you some vegetables that taste good, can kind of dull down a little bit of all the sweets you've been having. So we have this every year. It's great. Mom and my sister and I and Mike love it. Super tasty. All right, so what you're going to do is you're going to cut up your broccoli, your cauliflower, and your celery in a bowl. I already have those pre-done. Then you're going to add your green olives. Now you can do it whole or sliced. We prefer sliced, so it's usually easier just to get them sliced already, but you know, I mean, it takes what, 20 seconds to slice them all up. So we just kind of go in and slice them up real quick. Then you're going to take just regular Italian dressing, nothing fancy, just your regular bottled Italian dressing. Now I do this first before I add my avocado and sunflower seeds, and just squirt it over just until the whole thing is moist. So just get it nice and moist. A little bit more is not going to hurt anything. Then you're going to sprinkle on your sunflower seeds and get that stirred. And then you're going to cut up an avocado and put it on top right before serving. Now, if you want your avocado to not brown, you can put it in a little bit of lemon juice first. Just cut up some pieces and put it in some lemon juice water. That will help. But you want to do it immediately before serving because, of course, avocado does turn. So you have a wonderful green Christmas salad, and you get your vegetables all at the same time, and it is super tasty any time of the year. All right, the first thing you're going to do is peel your potatoes. Now, you can lay newspaper down and do this on newspaper and throw the whole thing in the compost if you compost. If you use the trash, just use a trash bag and peel it in there. Then, when you're all done, you can just gather it up and throw it in the trash. Okay, now I rinse the potatoes off when they're big like this because then I don't risk dropping any down the drain. So I'm going to get them rinsed off and then we're going to cut them up. Now this is my mom's trick. When you're making mashed potatoes, don't cut them into little pieces like this. This is the traditional way. Don't do that. Just cut them into quarters because you have the same amount around the potato. Now maybe this one I would do one more, but if you just quarter them, then you don't have to do so much cutting. So thanks, Mom, for that handy dandy tip there. All right, and now we're going to put these on the stove to boil. Now, what you can do is take and cut up your potatoes 2 to 3 hours ahead of time and just let them sit in the water. And my grandma did this all the time for Sunday dinner. Then just turn on the potatoes when you get home to start cooking, and you're getting your dinner together and they're piping hot when they're done. All right, you let your potatoes boil about 15 minutes, but if you're at high altitude, you may need to boil them a little bit longer. Just boil them until a knife just goes straight in, real easy, and then you know your potatoes are done. All right, now, the secret for gluten-free mashed potatoes is to use chicken broth. Now, I just use the bouillon cubes in some water. Just add my chicken broth, a little extra salt, And the secret ingredient, just about a tablespoon of sugar. Do not leave the sugar out. It does not make your mashed potatoes sweet, but it just brings out the flavors of the potatoes perfectly. Now, if you're not getting creamy enough, add just a little bit more broth and keep adding broth until you get the desired creaminess. Yeah, just a little tip. Lumpy mashed potatoes are because you did not cook them long enough. Another trick is to do your mashed potatoes up ahead of time and put them in the crock pot to keep them warm on low. You can do that for 2 to 3 hours. After 12 hours, bring it out of the oven, remove your foil. You can see that it's thoroughly cooked and falling off the bone. That's how you know your turkey is done, is when the meat just falls off the bone. You don't need a thermometer, but if you're worried about the temperature, you can check, and your thigh should be 180 degrees, which mine is. Then you're going to start picking your turkey apart and just start removing large hunks of meat off the bones and put it on the plate. If you want, you can scoop some juice over the top of your meat and wrap it with aluminum foil until you're ready to serve. So with this turkey, you have moist, delicious turkey that your friends and family are going to just rave about. Now, you're not going to have the crispy skin, but your turkey is not going to be dried out, so it won't be picture perfect turkey like you see in the movies, but it is going to be the tastiest turkey you will ever eat, and your friends and family are going to thank you for cooking it this way. So one tip that I do use is that I take the foil that was covering the turkey and I place any leftover turkey and gravy in little packets, fold it up, put it in a freezer bag, and then we have an instant ready to heat dinner that I just place in the oven for 350 degrees for about 25 to 30 minutes. And we have a tasty turkey dinner for 3 or 4 more times with our leftovers.